Your version is the old version. I'll give you a new version. So there's a new version up there. Yeah, that's why.
Fine. That's fine.
Yeah, so just download the new version from that drive. That's the new version.
No worries. Got any Wi-Fi?
Did you make any?
I didn't make any big changes.
Okay.
I changed like one.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
Turn my adapter.
Right. Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry.
You don't have any USB?
Yeah, just tell me about it. Mail it or something?
Where was that coming from? It shouldn't. Hello? Hello? Gradually take it up. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. If we need to check the speakers, we can just reduce it from there. Cool. All right. Everyone, can you hear me? Oh boy, what a day. It was very long, but we are finally here. If you're still grabbing some bite to eat, quickly grab some pizza, some drinks, and grab a seat. Make sure you obviously say hi to someone sitting next to you. By the way, yes, I'm a celebrity. If you need to take some photos, definitely, definitely come. It's $1 for now. It might go up to $9.99 in a few months. There you go, guys. You got to get in early, right? This guy's a smart guy. He's a businessman. So, show of hands, who's here and it's your first time coming to BlueCon? Oh boy. Okay, that's good. That's great. Who received my email that had 21st of August in it? You guys don't read your email. Oh my goodness. This is worrisome. There's this meme online where, like, you never have to fall into a phishing test if you never actually read your email. So you guys are definitely bringing that to life. All right. Just to quickly double check that those online can hear me. But you guys, obviously, for those who have been coming, you know how this rolls. So give me a second. We're running a bit late today. Sound is very quiet. Sound is very quiet. Can you bring the sound up? No, yep. Gradually. Yep, I think that's good. Great. I think we should be good to go. Sorry, guys, for keeping you waiting. We're just making sure that those online are able to join us today. All right, look, we don't have quite a lot of time to wait, so it's already 6:08 or 6:06, and we have quite a lot to unpack today. If you're here for the first time, welcome on board to BlueCon 0x0f. So if you're wondering what that is hexadecimal for, what is it? Sorry? Oh boy, 16. Decimal number for 16. Now that we've hit 17, it means we have to go back because decimal number doesn't go past that. So we need to obviously start from 0 somehow. But anyways, welcome aboard. My name is Sammy Chalks, and I'm the CEO and founder of Cylink. If you haven't heard about us, we are a cybersecurity training platform that actually provides training that is, job ready first. And one of our products is called a job ready track. So that's designed to be job guaranteed and your money back as well. So if you're here, show of hands, those who are wanting to get into cybersecurity or currently studying still, or maybe you're in cyber and you feel like you're in a dead-end job. Well, maybe that's another good place to start. All right, you're in cyber, you're loving your job, but you want to get something better. Show of hands. All right, cool. So we cater for those who are new and for those who are obviously, perhaps been in cyber for years as well. So if you wanted to transition from some other career, maybe that be accounting or legal to cybersecurity, you can definitely come to our platform, and one of our expert coach would obviously find a customized learning plan that works for you. It's unique. It's not a cookie cutter, copy paste, one size fit all type training. Obviously, you'll hear a little bit more about that. Who is one of our coach on our platform? Can I see your hand up? There you go. So if you want to know how real world cybersecurity training is done and how we're getting people into jobs, in as early as 6 months, I'm not gonna. Sorry, guys, that was some weird eye catch. I'm not gonna let the cat out of the bag for you, my friend. You have to do that yourself. We're landing people jobs, and if you want to be part of that, definitely come speak to me or my team. We want to speak with you, and we're offering a free strategy session as well, and we have some free courses for those who want to learn, hands-on Windows and Linux. We'll have a free course for you. But before I turn BlueCon into a sales event, because it's not, I'm going to dial back and say that BlueCon is the only people teaming meetup in the whole of Australia. And we are also streaming to Nigeria and Ghana as well, because we genuinely believe that, making an impact and democratizing cybersecurity training, within and outside the borders of Australia is the way to go. So we are making a difference. It's in places where it matters the most. And we've got some pretty exciting things coming. But for those who are sponsors, we've got Secura here, and we also have... Which side on books?
I didn't have a banner up, so
All right, because he was too shy, about BlueCon. He doesn't want to, put up a banner to show BlueConians. Let's give it up for Sidems for sponsoring BlueCon. Man, you can't run away from it. All right, let's give it up as well for Secura for sponsoring BlueCon as well. Without these people, we wouldn't be able to actually have this. And then, of course, obviously, Cylink, we're helping people get an edge. So let's give it up for Cylink. Tooting my own horn, right? That's the best way to do it. All right. We also have those obviously tuning in. Can we actually shout out and welcome those who are online? Well, let's say hi. The audio guy is definitely busy, so that's for sure. Let's say hi to those who are obviously welcoming. Welcome those who are in Ghana and those in Nigeria. Welcome to BlueCon 0x0f. And I wanted to give, I guess, Ben a bit of a moment to speak, because I don't want to hold the microphone alone, because it seems like I'm very possessive about this microphone. Ben, do you want to quickly say hi to everyone and tell them what Sidam does?
Sure. Thanks, Sammy. Well, Sidam is an Australian software company. You've probably heard we build case management software for SecOps teams. We actually just got into a Gartner document for the cyber incident response management category, which is a huge moment for us. So we're a category to focus on, definitely in security operations centers. And we just got our first US customer as well. So we're on the way up.
Yeah, to the moon. That's awesome. So yeah, if you want to obviously learn about their case management software that is dedicated for cyber, this is not some weird ITSM software that is trying to, wannabe cybersecurity platform. If you really want to know how, cybersecurity case management really works, you don't want to know when you're already under attack. You want to know before you've obviously gotten under attack. Ben is the right guy to speak to. But before I introduce our guest speaker for today, I'll quickly check the volume. I think those online are having some volume issues. Can you try pop that up a little bit more? Just careful so we don't have the reverb. Yep, I think we're good. I think so. Okay. All right, cool. I think that should work. So the speaker for today is James or Jamie, depending on if he's feeling if he likes you, he might give you the preferred name. But if he doesn't like you, you might get the I don't know what's the not so favorite name. Is it? Recruiters. All right. Obviously, if you're a recruiter here, you know Jamie doesn't like you, so he might give you a weird pseudonym. I don't know, JK, whatever it is, XX. I don't know. But Jamie, the first time I first met Jamie, does this is still working? All right, cool. The first time I first met Jamie was actually at an interview, right? Was it? Yeah, it was at an interview. So the work that Jamie does in the industry is absolutely superb. So Jamie is the threat intelligence analyst at AEMO, so Australian Energy Market Operator. Yes, thank you very much. And he's also a threat hunter as well at Trustwave. So Jamie has lots of years of experience around offensive and defensive security, which is why this talk is actually quite interesting today. And obviously, in true BlueCon style, it's not just listening to him speak, it's actually learning by doing as well. So I hope you guys are ready. You've got your laptop out as well. Jamie has multiple years, and he also has the highly coveted OSCP certification as well. So if anyone has attempted the OSCP, you know how much of a pain that is, unless someone has figured out how to let ChatGPT do the OSCP for them, in which case, let me know.
Show of hands for OSCP. Anyone?
Who's here who's certified with OSCP? All right. Okay, so if you have no idea what I'm talking about, Google it. It's one of the pain of my life. But let's give it up for Jamie for putting his hand up to speak at BlueCon.
Hello, hello. Not quite as tall as Sammy, unfortunately. I would just pull up. Did you update the PowerPoint at all? Okay, just give me 1 sec whilst I get the updated PowerPoint. Also, the Wi-Fi seems to have cut out, so...
Why is it using that? Oh, wait, it went back.
That's all right. So
So it's using that as your main screen, so you might want to swap it.
Okay, I will definitely fix that in a sec. Just start with the Wi-Fi. Stone and guest. And then we will... I hope you like my desktop background. I'm happy to share it. Maybe, but no, I don't think so. Okay, Wi-Fi is good. Just
All
let me
good?
crack
Can you
open
just join the
LinkedIn.
Teams chat?
Yep,
Teams
I
as
will
well.
definitely do that.
Take your time, man. You've got it.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, so we got the link and PowerPoint. Sweet. Save that, open that, join that. Come on. Teams will be there in a sec. Just got to let me into the Teams lobby. Thanks. Yep. And we're finally good to go. Except for that. Now we're good to go. Okay, all good? Good? Great. All right, I'm going to get started. Thank you again very much for coming. I'm glad it's caught your interest. I'm not going to talk about myself too much. I have been working at TrustWave for 3 years now, and for the vast majority of that time, I've been seconded full-time to AEMO to do threat intelligence and threat hunting. But I started my career as a pen tester. I got my job by doing the OSCP certificate. That certificate is a 24-hour exam. It took me 16 and a half hours. Please do not underestimate it, but also don't be scared of it if you're going for it, because it's not impossible. It just takes practice, and the practice is better than ever right now. So I did pen testing for a few months and then was offered the contract to AEMO for threat intelligence. And then I did that for a few months before I then went and did threat hunting, which I self-taught, which is a big endeavor. But now that I've been doing everything for a few years, I've sort of felt pretty comfortable across both sides. And that's what I basically do day to day, is do the threat hunting. So I'll get into that more. I'm going to cut straight into the talk. It is a workshop. It is interactive. I hope you've all been able to create the Azure cluster and import the data. Not yet? Okay, that's fine. We'll go through that. No worries. It's very quick. You just need to make sure that you have a personal Microsoft account. I'm sure you all have that, so hopefully it's not a high bar. But we will use that to do some threat hunting today. So we'll start off talking about what threat hunting is, right? The whole point of threat hunting is manually looking for threats, right? So you might collect forensic artifacts from a single device or from multiple devices, even thousands of devices, depending on how big your organization is and what your tools are. That's usually done at the time in response to an incident. It's a moment in time capture of the state of that device. Usually the memory and the disk captured, but if we are doing lots of devices, we might just have to keep the artifacts to a limited amount of data based on what's important and most useful for threat hunting work. The other option is examining centralized log data. So in advance, you have all your systems configured so that logs are forwarded from every device in the organization to a central server, which is usually cloud storage and a cloud SIEM. It may be on premises if you use Splunk or CrowdStrike. And that is going to be us today. This is us. So these tools, Sentinel, CrowdStrike, SIEM, Splunk, Wazoo, Elastic, they are all very good at doing the threat hunting job, at doing the security analysis job. But we are going to focus on Sentinel and KQL because it is what I am really good at, and it is also something that I can make pretty much immediately available to you with Azure Data Explorer. Why do we need to hunt though? Because manually looking for threats doesn't sound very good. The reason you need to do threat hunting is because, as far as you're concerned, evading automated tools as an attacker is trivial. You need to have this front of mind these days for a long, long time now. Even the best endpoint detection and response, whether it's Microsoft Defender, even whether it's CrowdStrike, these platforms can absolutely be trivially evaded with the right offensive tools, which you have to assume any reasonably funded and motivated attacker has. this is really significant. So, in terms of evading automated tools, because they're so easily evaded, you cannot have the presence of automated tools as any guarantee that an attacker is not in your environment. So you have to assume that there is potentially an attacker in your environment, and you have to deal with that consequences of, understanding that. Proactive hunting is generally done in organizations that are at risk from advanced persistent threats, and that's going to be our focus today. So this is critical infrastructure, financial services, and just any large and highly profitable organization. So Medibank or Qantas or, MGM or Caesars casinos in the US were big targets, for example, for Scattered Spider, which is a financially motivated threat actor. They tried to make a lot of money off that. The other thing, of course, is reactive hunting, where a security incident may trigger a threat hunt. Generally, that's out of concern that the security tools have not seen all of the activity, and so they've caught some of it, but you need to go and do a reactive hunt to identify whether there was any other activity. And just to be really, really clear, threat hunting today, especially, is not an IOC sweep, right? We're not like just grabbing the IP addresses from the incident and taking a look. Like, that's important, and you should never, ever discount basic indicators of compromise. They're very useful, and they're not to be, pushed to the side, but it's just the beginning of the process if you have a proper process, which we want to. Different domains of threat hunting. So host data, endpoint data, that's today's workshop. You can also look at network data, say from a network tap or firewall logs. And then there's also cloud data. So for example, if your organization runs on Microsoft Azure, which if you're in an organization these days, it does, that is also something that you should be considering looking at. But we will focus on host data today. The data is going to be provided by Defender for Endpoint running on the devices in question. And that data is then available in a CSV to all of you. So in terms of those tools, what is Kusto Query Language, KQL, right? It is an extremely fast database querying language, very fast at scale. It was made by Microsoft to run all of their tools in Azure and the majority of their cloud platform. So all of Defender, XDR, Sentinel, everything in Azure runs on KQL in the back end for the most part. It is sort of like SQL, but it doesn't really look like it. But if you've worked with databases before, the concepts are very, very, very similar. It has many built-in functions for fast data analytics. Azure Data Explorer is built for data analytics, not just security. And Sentinel in particular can then use that to not just examine logs, but you can also build detections in KQL. So you can use the same language for everything, and it's a very powerful language. So for building detections, that's very powerful, right? That's great. The only problem with KQL is that it has strict service limits, which if you ever try to make a workshop, you'll notice. You can have no more than 64 megabytes of data per query. If your query goes over that limit, the results get chopped off, which is really annoying. The results are compressed first, so if you're reasonably mindful of what you're doing, you can work with that. And no more than 500,000 rows in Azure Data Explorer. This was actually just updated yesterday, but Sentinel now also has the 500K limit. But yeah, 500,000 rows is the absolute limit. So totally fine if you're doing normal work, but if you're trying to pull the data out of the platform and do other analytics somewhere else, it goes downhill fast. So just bear that in mind. Microsoft wants you to work in their environment because of course they do, right? So creating your free ADX cluster, right? That is what we are going to do now. So go to dataexplorer.azure.com, right? Tick the create box and click sign and create cluster. That is literally all that you have to do. Get started with that now. It will ask you to sign in with the account you're probably already signed in with, and then you have a free Azure Data Explorer cluster. It's as simple as that. It is totally free. There's no timeouts or anything. You just have to work within the normal usage limits. You get 100 gigabytes of storage, and there is only just a 1 gigabyte size limit for each file that you upload. But that's it. So get started with that. I'm not going to talk about anything difficult in the meantime whilst you do. I will just push on to the basics of KQL, real basics, just viewing and doing some simple filtering of data. Yeah, of course. Okay, all good. But I will just give you a couple of minutes to get started doing the cluster setup. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry, there is a guide available, but to do this, but yeah, that's all good.
So it's pretty straightforward. Just go, just create a Microsoft, Data Explorer. Go there, you can sign up. So once you go to Microsoft Data Explorer, you say sign in, just click on sign up, and then once you create an account, it's just a Microsoft account, and then you'll be in, and then you'll be caught up in literally 2 minutes.
Oh, I see.
If you already have a Microsoft account, you don't have to set up a new one. So you can just use your already existing Microsoft account as well.
Okay. So first of all, raise your hand if you've made the cluster already at this point. Okay. Yeah, a handful of people. That's good. Yeah. So it's dataexplorer.azure.com, and as soon as you go there, we will come to that. Sorry. Sure. Yeah.
Everyone, please hurry up, set up so we can go. Fun awaits us.
Okay, so it has been pointed out to me that when you create, all good. It has been pointed out to me that when you create your cluster, it might not automatically take you to the query category in the sidebar. So once you've created your cluster and you've done that, just click query, and then you'll get the interactive prompt, and you'll be able to see your cluster in the new sidebar. Yeah. Right. Has anybody not created a cluster yet? Raise your hand. Okay. Just one person? Okay. I'll just give you one more moment just to account for the people online as well, make sure they're all settled. But yeah, just to go over that again, you're going to go to dataexplorer.azure.com. You'll see the create box and click sign in, create cluster. You'll sign in, and then once you do that, just click query in the sidebar, and then you'll be in query mode. And you'll have the option to, type some KQL, and we'll get to that. You're going to need data. I have it.
I was trying to make sure.
No. So just to make this super clear, so just a live demo for a sec. Yeah, so once you have created your free cluster, you'll be here. And then you just want to go to query, and then you just want to make sure you click it in the sidebar, and then you're fine. Cool. All right. I might need that later, so I will just keep that. All right, we're going to push on because I think everyone who is going to be ready is ready, which is all of you. So let's talk about using it in a basic way. All right. So you make sure your cluster is selected in the sidebar, sure. And then we get the option to write a KQL query, okay? So KQL query is just a table name, and then you can follow it with any filters. So for example, you can see in purple here, right? If you want to just view the first 1,000 rows of data, table name, and then on new line or not, just pipe, take 1,000. Easy, okay? And then you get 1,000 rows of data. And for those who haven't worked with databases, just a reminder, you know, each data point is one row, and then the columns give different fields for the data, like the time that row was generated or whatever the data is. You can also then filter the data. So besides just looking at it, filtering is done using where, and then you use any sort of filtering operator. So in this case, you know, I've matched for an IP address, and then for the second column, which I've called column 2, I've done text search for BlueCon with contains, right? So that's the basic stuff. We will distribute the data to you for today's exercise, but first we are going to talk about Vault Typhoon and the types of threat actors that are out there. Vault Typhoon is going to be our case study for today, but I know a lot of you might not have experience with different types of threat actors as much. So let's just talk about the 4 sort of categories of threat actor that we, you know, consider as cyber defenders, which is, you know, generally accounting for upwards of 99% of all the threats that we deal with. So first of all, there's cybercrime, right? So cyber criminals are the most common threat to most organizations, right? And also the most severe to most organizations. They are financially motivated. Their goal is to get money out of you, whether that means, you know, just taking your Bitcoin, but much more likely extorting you for money. And that's what ransomware is all about, right? So when I first went to uni, ransomware wasn't even a thing really, but now it's a huge issue. The damage costs of cybercrime passed the $10 trillion mark this year. Okay, that's the damage, not the amount of money made, but it's very, very impactful. It cannot be underestimated. If you considered that to be a country, it would be like the 3rd largest country in economy by, you know, GDP. It's a problem. So then you've got hacktivists. This is rare. This is more like, you know, 10, 20 years ago. Activism via hacking, it absolutely is still an issue, but generally it's not really something that we worry about much. Then you have insider threats, and insider threats you can dice up into a few different categories on their own, but this is basically any employee that is in your company that you've given access, that you trust to some degree, that you've provided trust, they are going to abuse that, either because they want to, because they got tricked into doing it, because they got bribed to do it, or just because they hate you. The last one is state-sponsored threat, and that last bit was not a joke. The last one is state-sponsored threat. So this is what traditionally we know as an advanced persistent threat, or an APT. APTs were first defined by Mandiant, now part of Google, in their APT1 report. But there's many different state-sponsored threats out there that are tracked by the cyber threat intelligence community now. This includes government intelligence services, military cyber divisions. Anyone a government pays in the private sector to do work for the country's interests. This is a big thing in China. There was a revelation this year that iSoon, which is a big Chinese company, was a front for government activity in the private sector. And then, governments will also pay contractors to develop malware that they then use, and it just goes on and on and on. Today we're going to be talking about Vault Typhoon. Vault Typhoon is the China-sponsored actor, so the Chinese government-backed actor that infiltrated the US energy grid. They infiltrated US critical infrastructure, mostly where it supported the military, but pretty much everywhere, is extremely prolific, and that is who we are going to be hunting for. That is a People's Republic of China-sponsored threat actor. And, as I work at AEMO full-time, and, AEMO is the energy market operator, and we support the energy grid in, their cyber defense work. This is very much a primary concern for us. So who is Vault Typhoon specifically? So Vault Typhoon, as I said, this is the group that represents China Nexus activity targeting US critical infrastructure and potentially allies, right? Particularly, as I said, military infrastructure. The activity was prolific in 2023. So CISA had such a struggle with organizing the defense effort that at the time they elected with Microsoft to make the intelligence publicly available. And this is now common for all of these China Nexus actors. The intelligence, where possible, is made public. If you Google Vault Typhoon Advisory, you will get both prominent CISA advisories, which documented the initial intelligence about Vault Typhoon in May 2023, and then also in February 2024. Right? Vault Typhoon's goal is to collect data on how to damage adversaries' infrastructure, and then, should a conflict arise, and then also position themselves to be ready to do that. So with the conflict in the South China Sea over Taiwan and others, Vault Typhoon's primary goal was to get right through US military and energy infrastructure so that they would have that threat in their favor, and so that if a conflict did happen, they could cripple the US as much as possible to prevent them from defending Taiwan. It is very serious stuff, needless to say. This has been a very big wake-up call for the US, and it is literally what put me into threat hunting as a threat intelligence analyst, because AEMO's defense team was already working hard, and I was the extra guy there. We will use example activity from known Vault Typhoon attacks as practice for hunting, but we will keep it, focused and not go too crazy. We'll talk more on the high level when we get to MITRE ATT&CK later. So here's some example activity from Vault Typhoon. This is in the appendix of the later report from February 2024. So starting with the description, you've got a PowerShell command that has gone and grabbed event ID 4624 logs from a device, right? This is a command that's run on a device after compromise. And then they've gone and done some, formatting and output it to a file and whatever, right? The goal is to analyze the logon patterns for people who have used that device and potentially identify targets to move to, but also identify whose credentials might be stored in the device. Because the way that Windows works is that once you authenticate to a device, your credentials, meaning specifically your password hashes, are going to be in that device's memory within the local security authority subsystem process, or LSAS.exe, and that is on every Windows device. So if they identify that you've logged into the device, they can go and compromise your hashes. But at the same time, if they just look in the memory, it's going to be there anyway, so they don't necessarily have to do all the recon in advance. But I digress. So the thing is, how do we hunt for this well, right? Because the naive approach is not very good, right? We are going to basically come to this these two sort of crucial things, looking for what is unique, but also invariant. I'll define that in a sec, but let's just look at the naive approach first, right, within KQL, right? So KQL, you take your table, whatever you've called it, or will call it, I should say, and you do, where the process command line contains this string, right, which is from the activity. That's what they do, right? So, you look for that, and that's great because, it's not going to get any false positives unless somebody's doing exactly that. But it's very inflexible, right? Like, it has to be an exact match. And this doesn't count for a lot of things. So if the threat actor just like adds an extra space in there somewhere, you're done, right? If they don't use the arguments in the same order, right? So there was this after argument and then it had a date, which is why there's nothing there because the date could change. But if they do the after first and then do instance 4624, it's not going to match, right? And blah, 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 blah. And that is all easily fixed using certain KQL operators that we will come to. But the thing that I want to highlight is that this doesn't account for using additional arguments or using fewer arguments, right? And we really need to consider what is more essential and what is sort of less essential and might vary from attack to attack, right? This is just an example of something from intelligence. It's not what every attack is going to look like, right? We want to match, yes, what is unique to the malicious activity, but we have to make sure it is invariant to the activity that we are concerned about. So if we are concerned about someone, getting a particular event ID, we have to make sure that we only look for, okay, I'll just do that, one sec. All good? Okay. Oop. Sorry, but yeah. So we want to match what's unique to malicious activity, but we need to make sure that it's invariant, because if it's not and we try to match on it, then we might miss activity, right? But if that doesn't quite make sense yet, that's okay. I'm going to go through it in a bit more detail, right? So as I said, evidence and threat reports. Evidence is just examples of threat activity, right? It is just an example. We need to look for the parts that are, invariant and that we really need to worry about. Okay, what are the invariants in this activity? Okay, so the objective of the command is to enumerate users, right? And that's achieved by retrieving event logs, so therefore get event log is mandatory, right? But the logs must have an ID of 4624, okay? So setting the instance ID argument to be 4624 is therefore mandatory. So there may be other options within the get event log command, making sure they're after or before a certain date or whatever, but like that part is essential, okay? That is invariant to the activity we are concerned about, which is, analyzing these logon patterns by getting this event ID, right? After just affects the date, so requiring in our query is a mistake, yes. So those are our invariants. And the question is that on its own enough to pick out the malicious activity from all of the noise that you might get? Because that is a reasonably common PowerShell command. So those are our invariants, get event log, instance ID, and 4624. Is it enough? Well, 4624 is very, very unique to this malicious activity because there's generally not much of a benign reason to go getting those log entries. They represent successful logons, right? Looking for a failed logon is a reasonably common thing to do. But looking at successful logons is less common, and usually there are better ways to do this anyway with cloud tools and whatever. So actually going onto a device, a single device, and getting that device's 4624 logs, that's very rare. So it's actually highly unique to the malicious activity. So this makes it the perfect blend of being absolutely necessary for the command, but then at the same time also very unique to it. And unique to the malicious activity in particular when using get event log. So let's hunt for this in KQL. We need to introduce the has operator to hunt for this in KQL. So I used contains earlier. Contains searches a field for text. Great, easy. But it can only do a single text string at a time. So you'd have to do contains this text and contains this text and blah, blah, blah. And it's not good and also gets very slow if you start to look over more than 14 days of data. So instead we use has because has is a series of operators. And you can, for instance, do a has all, and then you can look for 3 pieces of text at once, which is great. But the problem is that, and it's not really a problem, right? But the way that has works is a bit specific to make this performant, right? So not to get into the weeds, but this is actually very intuitive. Has matches terms, right? So I've put an example command here, right? Which is, Microsoft Edge.exe, whatever, you're going to start Microsoft Edge. And this is the entire command line. And what KQL does is it splits up any text data, right, not just command lines, into terms, right? And those terms, if you just look at it, it's very intuitive, right? Maybe the only thing that's a bit confusing is that program files isn't one term because there's a space in there, right? So it's just, it's uninterrupted alphanumeric characters, letters and numbers only. The longest possible group, that's a term. It's very intuitive, but the thing you have to bear in mind is that you cannot search for half a term, right? Okay, this is how KQL speeds things up, right? So it grabs all the terms and keeps a list of them, which is very fast, a lot faster than looking right through the text string, but you have to make sure that when you're doing your search, you don't split a term in half, okay? So you don't have to search for a term exactly. You can search like, /msedge.exe. That's 2 terms put together and some other things. That's fine. But the key thing is that you don't split a term in half, right? So if you do something like, and I'm mindful that not everybody may be able to see the monitor easily. So I'm just gonna say, like, if you see here, type equals GPU dash process. If you're a bit tired and you search for like type equals GPU dash proc, right, which is a common abbreviation in computing, it won't match because the term that KQL has remembered is process, right? What symbol? Oh, yeah. No, so there's no wildcards, right? You can absolutely do wildcard searching, but at that point you're just using contains, right? Like that's what contains is if you just do contains like type equals GPU proc, then yeah, anything after or before that gets ignored, right? But yeah, for KQL, for the has operator for terms, it's just looking at the terms that are present rather than the whole string, which is much faster, but then you have to make sure that what you specify doesn't chop a term in half. That is the way to remember it. The way to actually do work and not stuff it up is to think, I've got to make sure that I'm not splitting a term in half when I'm doing this, right? That's what will help you. That is the only restriction you must keep in mind. I hate having to talk about something specific like that in a talk that's meant to be a little more broad theme or introductory. But yeah, that is the only thing you have to keep in mind working KQL. That's basically it. So now we're going to go and hunt for the get event log activity. So this is just a warm-up, okay, simple exercise. There is a file. It has about 150,000 log entries. It's about 80 megabytes. You are not going to be combing through that by hand. You have to use threat hunting techniques to find the get event log activity that we're worried about. And there is some benign stuff in there. Not too much just because it's a warm-up, but yeah, that's what we're going to do. So this is the hunt target, right? Just to bring it back to the front. Yep. Yeah, can we distribute that? All good.
Cool. How good is he going so far, guys? Just give it up for him. Like, seriously, this is literally only possible at BlueCon. So good, mate. So the lab files, I did not upload them on YouTube. Oh, sorry, on GitHub. Yeah, literally, I was so busy launching the platform. So to actually see the lab file, go to scilink.com. Oh, I didn't even know this was going to come. I did not plan this. Go to scilink.com, so cylynk.com, and then you should see our Discord icon there. Guys, I'm not going to tell you not to buy anything. There's a course that is on there that you can buy right now and start doing it. Practical Windows CLI Essential. That is literally so hands-on and so technical. But anyways, I'm going to stop being salesy. Go on there. You can see the Discord icon. Click on the Discord icon. Join our Discord server. And then inside of Discord, you can see a channel called BlueCon. In there are links for you to actually see the lab files. CYLYNK.
That includes questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Is everyone in there? You've got the links as well. Is it working, by the way? Can you click it? No. Discord link. So if you click on Discord, the Discord icon, it should join the server. And then there's a channel called BlueCon. Scilink.com. It's CYLYNK.com. So, CY, C for cat, Y for you. Yeah. Yeah, C for silent. Yes. Guys, look at my chest, the guns, whatever it's called. CYLYNK. This was not rehearsed, guys. This is rhythm unplugged. Have you found it? Show of hands if you found the files. Who has found the files? Is it working? All right, all good. You can see the file. I need to find out, but one of them is good. So there are two files. The Word file, that one is for the guide, if in case you haven't set up your Microsoft account. The other one is the actual log file that you need for the data set. Yeah, that's the one. Workshop.data.csv. Well done. I think everyone should have it by now. Cool. All right, let's give it up again for James. This is pretty awesome, man. I'm learning a lot. Guys, come on. I need to hire you.
Okay, so if you have been able to at least start downloading the workshop.data.csv, can you raise your hand? Okay, quite a few people. I am just going to give it 1 more minute. I think first things first is, does anyone have any questions about any of the content so far? Just before we push on. Yeah, user, right? So the idea is, right, we'll do. So the question was, what exactly are we looking for here? We're looking for when a user went and retrieved an event log, or all event logs, I should say, for successful logins, right? And yes, we are, because the whole idea is that Vault Typhoon has come in, they've compromised your device, right? And they're now looking on that device as logs to see who has logged in successfully, right? Because if there are people that can log in to this device successfully from other devices, then that means that there are other places that we can go as attackers, right? So this is the perfect example of living off the land activity, where you're doing something that potentially looks very benign, but it is extremely malicious. And that's why generally it doesn't actually happen in a normal environment. Any other questions?
So, did I understand correctly? So why not use contain? Because contain, only you could use one string, right? So you can't do anything with contain. Contain is just contain, string, and nothing else, right?
Yeah, and you can then do...
Is much more useful, has a lot of different options and different ways of doing it. You could connect different strings and different search options. Is that
Yeah. So the question is, why are we going and using has over contains? Is it because it's more more performant? And just to be super clear, now that we've been through it, the reason is performance, right? You can do, just to go back to it, you can do where field contains text and field contain, or you can do and, you can also do or, right? So if you want to look for three things, like to do the equivalent of what we've done in the has all here, you could do where some field contains this text, or some field contains also this text, or some field contains one more. You can do that, but the problem is once you start chaining contains 3 or more times, it gets slow, and it's not good. So that's why we realistically, for any real work, we have to move away from it and use these other operators, right? Yeah. Yeah. The primary concern is performance. The primary concern is that contains will be much too slow, whereas has is much faster, right? Because this is just looking for one thing, but what if you're looking for multiple things? It adds up. Okay, show of hands if you have been able to download the data. Okay, some people are still going. I am going to push on, but it's okay. There is another exercise. If you download the data later and then you get to that exercise, that's the main exercise. Okay, so once you've got the data, in your Azure Data Explorer window, I'm going to demo this, right? So in your Azure Data Explorer window, just go to this button, right? So click your free cluster, click this Get Data button, right? Click Local File, and then pick the workshop.data.csv file, okay? It will have to do a little bit of work, but it's a very basic process. I'm going to step through the whole process just so that there's no concerns whatsoever, right? So I'm going to go Local File. I'm going to click My Free Cluster. Please ignore the Help cluster. That's a Microsoft thing. I'm going to pick my database, and then you can create a new table. In this case, I've already created a workshop table. Oh, is it not sharing?
Yeah, so I just go to the team, stop sharing.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to reshare for everybody online. Sorry about that.
Anything that will go wrong, a demo will go wrong.
Oh, mate, I know. Like, come on. Did we just kill our sharing for the whole workshop? Oh, there we go. Okay, easy.
Just go to whole screen. Maybe that's just.
I did the whole screen last time.
All right. Just minimize it.
Yeah, I will. Can you check for me that's the right screen? It should be. Okay. Are you sure you want to cancel? Yep. Okay. Hopefully a few more of you have been able to download the data. But all is the right screen? Right screen? Yep, cool. So you're going to get data, local file, pick your cluster, right? You will have to create a new table because you've not done anything before. I already have lots of tables from all the exercises that I have done, and I have this workshop table here. Then you can browse for files, go in, right? Go into downloads, go into workshop data, right? Click that. Okay, that was quick.
Did anyone miss that?
Oh, that was just like, you click browse for file, it uploads the file. Once it's done, you can click next. Yes, you can drag and drop as well.
Some help getting the data set into Azure Data Explorer?
Yeah, please help each other to help us move along more quickly.
This is not a captive audience. BlueCon is fun. Literally, this is the name of BlueCon is fun.
Sorry, did I see a hand up? Okay, question is, do we have anywhere besides Google Drive that the file is stored? Okay, if anyone has a USB.
It's a special case.
Yes, thank you. Okay, you're going to handle a special case, thanks. Okay, so once you have uploaded the file, right, it's going to come up with this. You don't have to change anything, okay? You do not have to change anything. You can just click finish, and it will do its work, and then it will be done. Shouldn't take very long because it's a small file. File limit is 1 gigabyte, so 84 megabytes is not very much. There we go. Yep, and it will succeed like that, and then you'll be right. Okay? And then you just need to click your database, and you'll just need to probably wait a few minutes, like being totally realistic. Once you have finished importing the data, you will need to wait a minute, right? 1 minute. And then you'll need to just hit refresh. And then once you do that, you'll be able to put in the table name that you chose. And now you're good to go, right? There's our data. There's a lot of columns, right? Just so that everyone is clear, the data that I have taken here is a complete, realistic mirror of the data that I would work with. So this data simulates data from Defender for Endpoint. It's a little bit narrowed down so you don't get all the fields but it's a realistic mirror of that. So this is a very good data set to practice with, because most of you are not going to easily have access to Sentinel, Defender XDR, or any of that stuff. You can set it up yourself for a free trial, but it is not easy. I'm going to push on with the presentation. Do I have to reshare? Do I have to reshare again? Oh, good? Okay. Let me know if I do, okay? Great. Okay, so this was the hunt target. I'm honestly going to push on, or we're going to run out of time, okay? So we'll come back to the other exercise, but the solution for this was pretty simple, okay? And there is no one super strict correct solution, okay? It's just, did you capture the right invariants? Did you capture enough unique stuff, right? So here I've done process events, which is what I named my table when I was putting this together, where process command line has all get event log, instance ID 4624. Now, I just need to be really clear for these demo images where it's code, I've used process underscore command line. That's not the field that you've got in your workshop data. I'm sorry. That's because I went through a few iterations of the data to get it best for the workshop. It is a symbol of hard work. So it is easy. Easy. So in this case, it's totally fine to also require security in the middle there, which I glossed over. But the main things are that you have either security or you have instance ID. As long as you have one or the other, you're sort of okay. Using a single has all operator is optimal though. That is the best way to make this work in terms of performance. If you came up with another solution, in your head, that is probably what you want to migrate to. Okay, so quick review, right? Like we already reviewed all the stuff we talked about so far, but in terms of, conceptually, our queries should basically be as broad as possible while retaining that precision, right? We want as much precision as we can get. We want to avoid false positives and only surface true malicious activity. And if we get really good at that, a ton analytic can turn into a detection rule, as I've mentioned, which is super powerful. And that's a very common output of my work. I aim to make all my hunt analytics detection rules. So that's where we want to get to. But you have to stay precise while you're keeping the query broad, right? Ideally, we get both if we have elements with strong uniqueness in the query, right? Like 4624, that's a good example. Never risk missing anything by requiring a match for something that is not an invariant of the activity of concern, i.e., if you have something in the malicious activity example that you've got in intelligence, if you see something that, no benign user would ever do this, right? You have to ask yourself, is it necessary for the attack though, right? So if it's not absolutely necessary for conducting the attack, whatever command it is or argument it is, do not require it because you will give yourself a false sense of security, and no matter how much of a unique signal it is, you will risk missing malicious activity, okay? And like I actually avoided saying here, sometimes the temptation is to write like one query that looks for the thing that only a malicious attacker would do, and then another one that's broader and doesn't take the risk of, potentially missing activity. But the problem with that is you run the first query and you get no results and you go, oh yeah, nothing's happened. You run the second query and you see a bunch of results and it's like, oh, but this is surely benign, right? And it's not good psychologically as a defender. So ultimately, the goal here is we want to make sure that we don't hunt for just individual little bits of activity that somebody put into a threat intel report. We want to hunt for the whole families of activity, right? That the evidence is an example of. Evidence, again, is an example of activity, right? It does not represent all the possible activity that could happen or that has happened out there, right? It's a report, it's an excerpt, right? It's representative. So wherever possible, we want to be broad, but yes, it can get hard, but you can also get smart, is how I view that. Time for a harder case study. We're going to look at more living off the land activity. This is a little bit more routine abuse of a command called certutil, which is a built-in Windows command, right? So again, living off the land, meaning it's a built-in command, but it is not something that is necessarily only able to be used in a benign way. It can be used to do things that ultimately are malicious. We seem to be going all right for time. So in the Vault Typhoon report, the latest one, we get this excerpt, right? Vault Typhoon uses at least the following living off the land tools and commands for enumeration, right? And there's a laundry list of commands, okay? Some of this is stuff like command, CMD, which for anyone, remotely technical here, that's how you run a command in Windows. It's the equivalent of, it's much more proliferant than who am I even, and that's not very helpful. But then there's some other stuff in here that is more helpful, right? Like certutil and some other things. We're going to focus on certutil as the example. I'm getting a little carried away. So that's known as living off the land. The problem is that we have no info, right? So we're just told that they use these commands, no example of how, right? Which is like, great. So hunting sometimes requires research. So we go and research how can certutil be abused. Now for this category of activity, living off the land, there are multiple projects categorizing all the different ways that this can be done. So the LOLBAS project for Windows commands is the place to go. Certutil.exe is there, and you can see it's got a few different functions, and we will come back to MITRE ATT&CK later, but those are the attack techniques there, right? So you can see LOLBAS tells us certutil can potentially be used to, download stuff, to encode or decode files, and then there's also abuse of alternate data streams, which is a feature in Windows where you can have a file, but then you can also have another hidden part of the file sort of alongside it, which is insane from a security point of view, but it's a feature, not a bug. So anyway, research basically reveals that the main concern from the security community is the download feature, right? Which probably makes sense, and it's definitely the major concern for someone like Vault Typhoon, right? Because if you look through all these commands, certutil is one of the only real ways you're going to be able to download any tools. So that's probably what they're using it for here. So we go into the, I've made this nice, but we go into the LOLBAS project page, and we have 3 possible options for how this can be achieved. So you can do certutil, and then you can do -URL cache as an argument, and then you pass the URL, and you can pass a file name, right? And notice how the file name does not have to be anything to do with the URL, okay? So you can go to file.png, and then you can dump an exe, right? Nobody cares. That's gonna save the file in the current folder. Second option is pretty much the same, except as you can see, it's a different argument, verify CTL. And the third option doesn't require either of those arguments or the -f argument, it's -URL instead, but it is gonna save the file to a predefined folder in local appdata/low, which the % symbols there, that takes you to that directory for your user in Windows, because that's within the user directory for your user. So it's not just an exact path for everybody, it depends on the username. So we need to hunt for all 3 of these possibilities, right? And there's no need to try and do that all in one query, right? That's fine. How are we gonna do this, right? So we need to start thinking about invariants again. So we research what exactly this command does, how it works, right? Not obsessively, but just, okay, the URL cache option works this way, the verify CTL option works that way, and basically you need to have those options, and you have to have the -f flag there, right? That's the main concern. When we look at this from the LOLBAS website, it's like, okay, URL cache you probably need, right? But do you need the -f to specify the URL, or is that for something else? Because I sort of just said at the start, you give it -f and then you give it the URL, but maybe -f is like force or something else, or don't fail, don't give errors. But no, -f is required. Okay, so that's great. So that's a thing that has to be there, which means that's a thing that we can count on when we're looking through the data, log data, right? The third one doesn't require -f, so that's a little bit harder, but hopefully we'll be okay. As I said, the likely objective is to download an executable tool. So again, that means you can sort of think, the command line would need to have a .exe in there somewhere. And that's smart thinking and potentially helpful, but .exe, the file could be renamed after it's downloaded. It's definitely not invariant. It could also be a PowerShell or batch script, and you can get a laundry list of those sorts of possibilities, but you can't really depend on it. You shouldn't, unless you're absolutely stuck, you shouldn't go into that. So yeah, because as I said, certutil is normally used with certificate files, right? Not executable files or scripts, but yeah, could be renamed afterwards. So final invariant analysis, those are our invariants: cert util, URL cache, -f, verify CTL, and -URL, right? If this isn't enough, we should probably first try to look at the false positives that we are getting and seeing if there's a pattern that we can then rule out specific to that pattern, right? That's one of the main ways you get rid of false positives. But ideally, we try to get the query strong first and write a smarter query. Only if we really are getting lots of false positives from all over the place and it's not feasible to, rule out systemic patterns, only then do we really start to add additional requirements like, oh, well, we'll limit the search to a .exe being in there somewhere, right? Because that introduces the risk of missing something, and we would start with the least possible risk, right? Okay, now it is workshop time, okay? So we are going to go and hunt for this cert util activity. Hello.
I've got a question.
Oh, question.
Which I'm sure is probably on everyone's mind. By the way, you have to repeat it for those online.
Yes, of course.
Yes. So is there a possibility to use something like regex? So rather than specify .exe, you can actually just specify something like accept a letter from A to Z here, or 3 letters in range, essentially saying that, hey, I want to see where there's an extension in it, not necessarily every single place where set util exists, but only where there is an actual extension file in there. So which means someone is probably downloading an executable which has an extension in it.
So smart question. The question is, can you use regex to do these matches, right? Rather than just using has and whatever. Can you use regex and get really smart? If you don't know what regex is, don't worry, because I was just about to go through that after we finished the workshop. Yeah, after we finish the section of the workshop. So yes, you absolutely can use the matches regex operator. It is extremely powerful, and this sort of thinking is the way to do threat hunting when you get stuck, right? Not introduce risk of missing stuff. Make your query smarter, and you can see here, you can add in extra context and do that. But first, it is workshop time, so let's get going, okay? I hope you've got the data. I hope you've got the data uploaded to Azure. If you don't, I am happy to help you with it for everyone here. For everyone online, I'm sure you were able to follow along, but it's not enormously difficult otherwise. Basically, in terms of hunting for this activity, we are just looking for, come on, keys. Yep. So we are just looking for these styles of command, okay? And if you're not quite sure what the malicious activity will look like exactly, don't worry, right? Look at the intelligence, look at what the possibilities are, start writing your query, okay? Rely on the invariants, and you will pull out the malicious activity from the benign activity. Should be pretty successful. Okay, I'm gonna take a break from speaking. And I'll just go around the room and help out anybody who needs help. If you explicitly want help, please just raise your hand for everybody who's here.
So just in case you're not aware of what you're supposed to be doing, you're supposed to be looking for where the threat actor has used ZUT to download a malicious payload. So in your data set, obviously you have some intelligence that you can use there, so that's the command line. And it might look like, it doesn't mean you search for that word for word, because you might not find anything useful. So basically what is described is essentially how you work from left to right, which is you start with the command, the actual executable name, and then you start adding more things to it. So if you need help, just raise your hand up for help.
So a couple of things I would like to remind everyone of are technically, working in KQL, contains and has, all those operators are case insensitive, right? So that's not a concern. And the other thing is for your workshop data, the field that has the the actual command line is called process command line. If you start typing it, you'll get an autocomplete. It's not too hard. But yeah, those are the only things I wanted to highlight. Just for everybody online, can you put any questions in the chat and we will absolutely get to them.
There's a price for someone whoever finds what you're looking for. So ask the question.
It's meant to be found. It's not meant to be too hard.
That's why it's meant to be good away.
I'm going to let you say that. How about that? I'll let you say that.
All right. In case you're still looking, there's a prize. So making the stakes higher as well, right? So if you found what you're looking for, all right. Since we have so many people who have found it, we're going to need someone to do a dance. There's going to be a dance battle at BlueCon today. All right, fair enough. I won't make you guys do a dance. All right. So who was the first person to find it? All right. Just hold on to your horses. We might give a present to both of you. So let's just wait for him to come and show us what we're looking for. But there's definitely goodies for today. And those online, if you find it, just let me know. We're going to send you something via, DHL.
All right, chop chop, because we are running out of time. But I am pleased to see that in terms of the people here, a lot of people have succeeded. If you haven't succeeded, it's probably because I didn't make something quite as clear as I should have. So just to, okay, I didn't actually put a solution up for this one, yep. So just to go back to some KQL, right? So for KQL, right, first of all, the way to make this concrete for yourself in terms of like, what am I supposed to write for my filter? Look at the data that you have, right? Do like take 100 or take 1000 and then look at the data, look at the fields that you have, and you'll see that in this case for the workshop, you have data which basically, as I said, looks like data from Defender. And in the case of this data, you will get the actual command line that a process was executed with as text. And then we're filtering on that text. We're looking in that text, and in this case on screen, the text was in the process underscore command line field. For the demo, there's no underscore, and fields are also case sensitive in KQL, but the autocomplete helps you there. So that is what we're doing, right? We're looking for those through those text fields. And yes, with this hunt exercise, the goal was that the attacker could be doing any one of these three things, but it's verify CTL that they chose in this particular attack, right? So I apologize if you did the first one, then you were like, oh, I can't see anything, I must be doing something wrong. That's my bad, but it is realistic compared to a real attack. And I've absolutely been through that sensation myself at work. So now, just to quickly review some concepts again, right? If we're getting too many results, we can, as an absolute last resort, add additional requirements that are less invariant, obviously introduces the risk of missing activity. Preferably, we eliminate false positives by writing a smarter query. As Sammy said, you can use match regex, right? Use something like regex101.com to build and test, crucially, your regex, okay? I did not know regex off the top of my head, okay? It's not that hard, it's just a bit different, or very different. But don't be scared of it at all. If you use something like regex101.com and you go through a basic tutorial, you'll be fine. If everything we can do with the data from that one event that we have, you have hundreds of thousands of events in this case, but if for a single given event, the data from it is not enough, we can potentially bring in data from other events, right? And do correlation using like table joins or unions. But that's more common as things get harder. We don't need to worry about that right now. Final point here is to be sure to consider all the information from a threat intel report, okay? Not just what it says is good for hunting, or not just what the authors want to highlight, okay? Sometimes the information that I get is just from a screenshot in a report that's meant to illustrate something else, and it's there on the side, and oh, look at that, right? This information was meant to be like an addendum, practically, in this report. It was like, hey, they use these commands, just so you know. You can't do anything with it, but just so you know, that's some stuff that we've seen. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, but we can work with it by doing a bit of research. MITRE ATT&CK, this is going to be quick. This is how the cyber threat intelligence industry tracks and thinks about activity from threat actors. We're going to use Vault Typhoon as a case study. Here's how Vault Typhoon attacks diagrammatically. Without getting into it too much, their goal, as I said, keep the goal in mind before you worry about knowing all the technical stuff. It's much easier that way. The goal is to basically get any data on your country's critical infrastructure and then also pre-position themselves to be ready to damage it, right? Extremely significant. But the thing I want to highlight is on the bottom here. You can see this is categorized into a few phases: reconnaissance, initial access, lateral movement, and potential impact. And this is what MITRE ATT&CK is about, right? This is the MITRE ATT&CK matrix. It's very big now, okay? It's very, very big. We're on version 17 of MITRE ATT&CK. It doesn't fit on my 4K monitor. It's cooked, right? But it is very comprehensive, though. So
It's better to remember them all in cybersecurity.
Yeah. Remembering everything is tough, but MITRE ATT&CK, just to come back to this for a second, right? MITRE ATT&CK is how we track activity. And so these phases along the bottom here, these are phases from MITRE ATT&CK, right? Okay, so reconnaissance, initial access, right? And then once we actually start to get some impact, moving more to the right side, okay? So MITRE ATT&CK considers all phases of an attack, right? So pre-attack, attacking, breaching, and after a breach, data exfiltration. You can see the different phases of an attack there that MITRE ATT&CK categorizes activity as. It's not quite all of them now, but because it has grown. But these phases MITRE ATT&CK calls tactics, which is the first T in TTPs. And we're now going to talk about the concept of TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures. And that is actually what this MITRE ATT&CK matrix is. The tactics are on the top, they're the general categories and the phase of an attack you're up to. And then the techniques within each tactic, within each phase of an attack. And then procedures just refers to how an attacker specifically accomplishes that technique. So for example, if I want to dump your password hashes, do I use Mimikatz or do I use, my custom shell that, hooks directly into Windows APIs and does it, without at all resembling Mimikatz, right? Mimikatz is a tool for doing that sort of activity. Sorry, question? No, good, okay, no question. So yeah, TTP, so the security community, having gotten very comfortable with MITRE ATT&CK, refers to TTPs as the general tactics and techniques that threat actors employ. So we talk about Volt Typhoon's TTPs, right? Sol Typhoon's TTPs, right? And this refers to the tactics and things they do. Tracking what the broader tactic is obviously more useful. And, the thing I wanted to point out here is MITRE ATT&CK is just a way of pinboarding and tracking behavior, okay? MITRE ATT&CK is not the dictionary of ways to conduct a cyber attack, okay? MITRE ATT&CK is based on threat intelligence. Threat intelligence is based on attacks, okay? These things take time. By the time something is in MITRE ATT&CK, it's been happening for 2 years, okay? You really need to bear that in mind, okay? Because the industry, one thing I do see is the industry sometimes focuses a bit too much on this is how you can use MITRE ATT&CK to conduct a threat hunt. And it's yes, it's a good taxonomy, right? But it's not the all and end all. So using it as a pinboard, MITRE ATT&CK is helpful for considering the severity of activity. Is it initial access or is it data exfiltration, right? Okay. Is it credential access, right? Right side activity, generally most impactful. Do be mindful of how quickly things can escalate. Crazy, but very common thing with Volt Typhoon, which is the crazy part, was they would often just, find a US energy organization's network, exploit a CVE and a firewall that hadn't been patched in 5 years, and now they're in. And then they were in for 5 years. I didn't actually mention that, but Volt Typhoon was in networks for up to 5 or 6 years in some cases, which is terrible. So do keep that in mind. You can very quickly end up on the right side. The left side is not necessarily not consequential. The other thing that I want to highlight in MITRE ATT&CK is it's very helpful for when you if we look at the credential, if we look at the cert util stuff, you see these techniques on the side, right? And it's very helpful for going and looking at that technique, ingress tool transfer. Well, yeah, how else could I transfer tools onto a device as an attacker? What are all the different ways I could do it? And that's okay. That's not a very interesting category necessarily, but MITRE ATT&CK is good for, making you think and hunt for those broader TTPs rather than just specific tools and specific bits of evidence that we see in reports. So yeah, that can be the basis for a proactive hunt. How does this influence our hunting strategy? This is important, okay? So we generally prioritize the most impactful activity first, and 2 reasons, okay? First one is obvious, yes, it must be caught as soon as possible because, severe impact and consequences, it's more impactful, so of course we go there first, right? But the other thing is, there are more ways to achieve early stage activity than late stage activity, right? Okay, so an attacker will, across multiple attacks, not always take the same way in. They may, but not always, right? And that tends to vary from attack to attack more and more as you go to the harder ends of cybersecurity. And that's because no single way of getting in is 100% successful for an attacker, so they have to vary it, right? But once they're in, especially if you're a state-sponsored APT, you've got a playbook. You've got rules. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to enumerate. You're going to pivot. You're going to get to domain controller. You're going to dump everything, and you're going to exfiltrate it out, right? And you're going to do that in a very specific way that they feel has the lowest probability of being detected and stopped, right? They get caught. Chinese actors don't care, right? They just want to get in and get the data and succeed, right? Now I've made a question time slide here, okay? If there are any more questions at the moment, we'll answer those now, and then I'm going to spend the last 5 minutes on our advanced topic for the night. Are there any questions here in person? And Sammy, I'm going to count on you for any questions from the online people. Although, for the sake of time, I would be happy to answer those in the chat, maybe after we finish here. That might make more sense. Okay, so online people, sorry to keep you waiting, but There's just as many of you online as in person.
You've got a question here.
Okay, one question in person, yeah. So the main thing that's out of the realm of MITRE ATT&CK is something new. When something new happens, somebody figures out, and that happens all the time. That happens every year. That is why MITRE ATT&CK is updated every year, right? 16, 15, 17, I've used all three whilst I've been working. And, just a couple of years I've been at AEMO, right, 2.5. But yeah, absolutely. You should... Okay, so question is not just are there things that exist outside of MITRE ATT&CK that we need to worry about, but have I found anything? Okay, I have, but this is a TLP white conversation, we would call it. So yeah, okay, it's traffic light protocol for people who have not worked with intelligence, but yeah, what I can tell you is if you want to find new and novel stuff, use what I would call unstructured methods to hunting. So for example, if you have a web server and you get a tip off that it might be being attacked, which definitely hasn't happened at AEMO, then what you do is you take a look at all the IPs, you take a look at all, and this is an example, you take a look at all the IPs, take a look at all the URLs that those IPs have been to, right? And you just see if it clusters at all. Like, some people who use the website normally tend to go over here, and then some people over here try and look at, /Etsy/password on your website, right? And then you start to go, oh, these IPs look malicious, and then you look at what else they're doing, and now you're starting to get into the territory of finding stuff before an attack has succeeded, right? Top-notch proactive threat hunting, and that's genuinely not like boasting, those unstructured techniques, like they're the way to go. But we're going to go push on to the advanced topic if there's no other questions. If there are, please raise your hand. Okay. No other questions. Okay, so command line obfuscation in 5 minutes, which is what I geared this for. This is the thing that is going to defeat everything I have taught you tonight, okay? Which hurts, but then I'm going to make it better again by showing you how to actually use it as a signal, right, of malicious activity. Here is a simple command line obfuscation technique, okay? Command.exe, right? So we're going to run a command, /c, we're going to run a command, right? And you can see we've done like set x equal to this stuff and then echo x with some modifications to another command.exe, right? Okay, so we can make complete sense of this. Don't panic if you're not super technical, okay? This single command, it's going to set the variable x to be equal to w script and then /ej script. Don't worry about it, okay? But it's going to do that with an @ symbol, right, in the middle, so that these terms aren't detected by any sort of hunting, right? Then it's going to pipe that to a new command, and when it does it, it's not just going to echo x, it's going to echo x, but with this syntax that allows for modification of the variable at the time in flight, right? So the @ symbols are going to be set to be equal to nothing, and they're gone. And now you're piping it to another command. And you might think, okay, but that command.exe, it's going to get that command line and, it's going to be clean and you'll be able to look at it, right? Because when that command.exe starts, then you're going to be able to see it when the process is created. Because I didn't really go into this, but the logs you're looking at are process creation logs. When a process is created, what command line was it created with? That is 99.99% of everything you need for, this kind of process activity hunting. But no, the problem here is that when a process is created, the command line it gets logged with is the command line that it was executed with, that you put in, you hit enter to call the process. That's it. Anything done in flight, that doesn't count. That's not what you put into the command line. That's not logged. So yeah, not to double up on terms, but if you're using the existing threat hunting techniques to look for this sort of thing, you're cooked, right? So second example, okay, and this is going to get way more fun, and I'm going to skip through it. Potentially malicious command, it does some netstat stuff, not important, okay? We know how to hunt for this now, there's probably some invariants in there and, we can go and research that. What if it looks like this? Right? This is the same example, but obfuscated. This is the exact same command, it's obfuscated using some simple techniques. This research was from FireEye, by the way, which is, now Mandiant, which is now Google Mandiant. Yeah, long time ago, I guess it was FireEye, but yeah, this is a report called Deciphering, but this report showed off a number of these techniques, and the problem is this still runs perfectly. Okay, you can put that into command.exe, runs completely fine, right? None of those characters stop it from running, which is insane, but that's just how the command line works. So at this point, things are pretty bad, right? But the thing is, it's like, what would a human make of this? Like when I started trying to get smarter about threat hunting, it was like, well, if I looked at this, I knew it would be malicious. So how do I put that into the computer in a rigorous way, in a fast way? In the first case, well, let's start with the second case, right? The second command, that immediately looks highly suspicious, right? Malicious. You don't really need any training with that. And then the first command, if you take a proper look at it, those @ symbols, it's like, maybe, but like that's not an email, it's not a domain, like there's no .com. That's a bit suspicious, right? If you had like 5 different commands and that was there, you'd go, yeah, that's the suspicious one if you had to, right? So there are routes here that we can use to turn this stuff around and turn it into a signal, right? I'm just going to start that sentence again because it didn't go how I wanted it to, right? But we can take these unusual behaviors and use them as a signal of guaranteed malicious activity, right? Which is great. Some more easily and clearly than others, but you can absolutely do that. And that brings us to the last slide just in time, which is, what should you do to detect command line obfuscation? Generally speaking, there's heaps of other techniques I've not put here, right? You can look for anomalies, so you can like write queries to look at like how long is the command and how many of these unusual characters does it have. That's fine, right? Then you can do some stronger things per individual technique that you identify in research. You can be like, oh, is it using funny constructs like taking a variable and then setting part of it to be blank, right? Like, what? Okay. Or, command.exe piping to command.exe, that kind of hierarchical stuff, looking across multiple events. In that case, you can just look in the one string, but if you chain multiple events together, yeah, that could be good, but it works fine for the most part, but you have to do a lot of work. This is actually less work. I wrote a 600-line regex with the help of VS Code and regex101.com, because in VS Code, you can get multiple cursors in the same place and then type something once and it will do it in 600 places. So what I did was, I got all of the living off the land binaries from the LOLBAS project that are potentially abused, all of the PowerShell built-in commands, all of the command.exe built-in commands, right? And then it's a single giant regex, which basically looks for when these commands are being used within the command line, like with all those characters and stuff. Like if you go through them and you match like the S and then through 100 other characters, there's a T and then you get to start, right? If you match that, but there's 100 characters in the middle, right? That's what the regex is looking for. And then it's going to show you that result. And for me, this was pretty much the ultimate solution to most of these techniques. And I'm not completely up to date with research in this area because it is constantly evolving, right? Command line obfuscation is mostly used in malware because it defeats Yara rules, right? Which are used for detecting strings within malware. So that's how Florian Ruff and all the greats write their detections, to come back to earth for a second. You're basically gonna, write a rule that looks in a file or piece of executing code in memory even, which is very powerful. And you're gonna look for a particular string that indicates, oh, it looks like it's this malware. But malware started doing stuff like that. So defeats that. But yeah, works very well. If you do a regex like this, and these techniques are very rare. You don't need to worry about it in your day job yet, but it is developing. And yeah, it's definitely going to be the future. The more that threat hunting becomes a defense that's relied on, the more it's going to become a thing. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you learned a lot. And I will hang around to answer any further questions that any of you have. I'll definitely hang around. And eventually, when there's no more questions, I will go home. Good luck in your careers. Do not be afraid to learn. You have got this. I would know, and that is something I can go more into if you're interested. Thanks again.
Can we get up again? How cool was that, guys? I told you guys, right? It was going to be hot. Was that hot or what? That was pretty sick. That's awesome. Let's give it up again for James. That was pretty awesome. Well, if you're here and you're wondering what on earth just happened, well, welcome to cybersecurity, right? And if you wanted to get ahead and and learn how it all works and learn threat hunting and all of that, obviously come speak to me and my team. But before we do that, we wanted to know if anyone had any other final questions and and whatnot for James before he goes to go get some rest. He's been working hard to put this slide together over the last few, few weeks. Questions? Yeah, you go.
So, what resources you would advise to use to learn KQL and just that sort of like mindset, threat hunting, and then that sort of.
Well, aside from silent.com.
So question is, silent.com. Question is, what can you use to learn KQL? Right, I'm going to start with that part. Okay, so Kusto Detective Agency is actually a free set of pretty intense challenges made by Microsoft that they also coach you through. Okay, the last one was a competition. I tried. I actually got stuck on one thing because I had the right answer, but I wasn't putting it in right, so I handicapped myself there. But yeah, that's one thing you can do. The other thing is for threat hunting. How do you go and learn? In terms of threat hunting resources, honestly, threat hunting is still a field that is developing. I mean, I want to come back to the question, but the thing that I would probably do is grab the Vault Typhoon advisories, right? Or grab those other advisories, and build some KQL queries and try and sort of play against yourself. Put something in the data, upload it, and try and look for it, right? It's a bit of a brute force way to do things, but I got good at threat hunting because I had the opportunity to do it in my job. I had an environment with 5,000 devices. If I didn't do a good enough job, I got too many results. If I thought that I was doing a great job and got 0 results, I had to make sure that I wasn't stuffing the query and just ruling everything out, right? So, yeah.
Another resource is probably KC7 for those who are wanting to start out as well.
Yeah, I forgot about that actually. I knew there was something I'm forgetting. So Kusto Detective Agency is great for KQL specifically, but this was the answer that I had in mind for threat hunting. I could not come up with it at the time. KC7 is an equally free resource, and again, it's using KQL and those same free tools, and it is actually a cyber detective focused game. I actually do know this very well. It did slip my mind because I'm tired, but it is fantastic. If you want to learn threat hunting specifically, go here, and it is very introductory at the beginning. You can't be too low in technical skill to do this. It's fine.
All right, fine. They're not paying us for marketing. How good was that? Does anyone have any other question? Yeah, you go. Oh, you don't have to answer that.
Okay, question is, do I recommend AEMO as a good place to work? I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have stuck around on secondment for so long. The cyber defense team is very good. But yeah, Trustwave is an equally good place to work. Trustwave, put me there on that contract. So yeah, that's all I say. But the question was just, is AEMO a good place to work? 2 more questions, okay, and I'm going to be quick. Yeah, I'm going to be quick because I'm mindful of time.
Do you have that filtering regex on the GitHub somewhere?
I do not have the regex that I used in the that I mentioned in the last slide on GitHub somewhere. And that's probably not going to change just because to get it onto GitHub, I have to get it off my work laptop and onto another laptop, and I have to log into, and then it's just, oh my God. But yeah.
By the way, James and I are going to be building a course together on this as well. So just stay tuned, everyone. There's going to be some pretty cool things coming. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. One more question at the back there. Okay, so good question. How do I test queries, right? Okay, generally speaking, that's the question, right? And the answer is, at work, we have test machines, right? We can run, a command line on them, and it's not going to set off 1 billion antivirus alerts. And then we can see whether we're getting that in our search data. So that's how I test my queries. Even if it's something benign, I can just put it in on my work laptop, and then within a couple of minutes, it's gone through Defender, it's gone up to Sentinel, and then I've got that there as a test bed. Yep. Okay.
Good.
Any
That's the last question.
Any other questions?
A very quick one. So how do you, because you can't memorize everything, right? Because like with programming, you can't memorize every single thing. So KQL, is it more like practice, more than memorizing, basically, or how would you?
So KQL, the question is, is it hard? Do you have to memorize everything in KQL? Yeah. KQL has KQL has a lot of functions, but in terms of the stuff that you use more commonly, it's pretty limited. And if you do something like Kusto Detective Agency, you do the first 10 exercises, you'll know more stuff than most people using KQL. So what I would say is I reference the KQL documentation all the time in Microsoft Learn, but it's a lot easier than using a procedural programming language like Python or something where there's 100 libraries. One more question just here at the front.
Yeah, for like intelligence, like if you just want to read like intelligence day to day, is there like a good platform free to subscribe to that you recommend?
Okay, where can you go read intelligence, as someone who's like not got any special access? You can go to the CISA, US Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency page, alerts and advisories, and you can go and look at all of their advisories. They pump out stuff for ransomware, state actors, everything. And that's real intelligence that is used by organizations everywhere, right? There's no need to feel like you don't have access to it. Yeah, Google search fault iPhone advisories, they're there. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. All right, let's give it up for James again. That was awesome. Gets even better. All right, James. Well, as it's customary, I want to thank you from the rest of BlueCon here and those who are online. Thank you so much for putting in the work and for giving back to the cybersecurity community. With that in mind, here you go. Enjoy. Let's give it up, guys. Now you can breathe. All right, there's one last slide here for those who are wondering. Yes. Okay, cool. So if you want to stay connected with BlueCon and know what's happening for next BlueCon, you can actually, scan this QR code. There's a bunch of places you can join us on, on LinkedIn. Obviously, you've joined our Discord server. If you are here, there's a lot of really good things that are coming up. The next event as well for the month of September is absolutely going to be awesome. So if you've got any plans, please cancel it. We also have something. We also have something coming up as well. Something really, really big. That's coming up in November. Ben and I are still working through all the painful process of trying to get it going, but I guarantee you guys, it's going to be epic. So if you do want to find out how to get a job in cybersecurity or how to get ahead or gain an edge in cybersecurity, definitely come speak to me. I would like to help you and also provide you with a free strategy session so you can actually start killing it as well, like James. With that, thank you so much, everyone, for coming on board. Once again, let's give it up for our sponsors. And for those who are online, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate your time and thank you so much. Enjoy. Guys, we are very light, so I'm going to ask everyone to just quickly go downstairs and let's continue that conversation right in front of the building. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming. Enjoy. And that's it for BlueCon 0x0F. I think we're all good now. Yep. So for those who are online who are joining us, or if you're going to be watching this later, you obviously know where the best place to find the best events and the best speakers and learn technical hands-on cybersecurity training. So, mate, how good was BlueCon? Tell me your name and tell me, what you've learned today.
Luke, and it was unbelievable. Searching for the advanced threat actors through pretty sophisticated commands. It was unbelievable.
No, that's cool. So is this your first BlueCon or have you been here before?
I've been here before.
Cool. I've got another last tricky question. Have you checked out Silink.com?
I have checked out Silink.com.
How cool was it though?
It is a beautiful website and it's doing good things for the community.
That's good. That's great. All right, stay tuned. All right, mate. Thanks so much for coming to BlueCon. Come on here.
All right, let's go.
All right, we have my man here, the big man himself, Mr. Tosin. You want to tell us what your name is? I have said your name, but...
Name's Tosin Daniel.
All right, cool. So tell me, what's your highlight from BlueCon 0x0F today?
I mean, the idea is obviously instead of focusing on like centralized taxonomy systems like MITRE ATT&CK, you'd have to also learn how to think objectively, and just think out of the box to pick out attacks before they fully happen. So just having a different way to threat hunting instead of relying on structured.
That's it. Looking outside the box.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great. Thanks so much for coming. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next week. Well, next month. We're not having BlueCon weekly. That's not happening yet. You want to come say hi to everyone online? All right. Everyone. Now, tell me your name and what is your highlight from BlueCon 0x0F?
It's going to be short. My name is Alex, and highlight is from the meme.
Mind blown.
If you don't have if you don't see steam coming out of my ears, it means
we're going to add it there.
I think your own steam, your overclocking of your brain is just blocking your visions. Because this is awesome. Because thanks to Sammy here again, I was introduced to KC7, so I was really interested in getting to it, and now seeing it from another perspective, not from just a game perspective, but from like a real life and how it's used perspective. It's like it's just mind blowing, and it's a unique experience. So well done, everyone who connected online, because you got a unique experience, you got unique exposure, and people like that, gems that are out there, not as outspoken, but they should be like being brought to events like this. So Sammy, thank you very much. Thank you, Silink. Thank you to everyone.
That's awesome. Well, last tricky question. Have you visited Silink.com yet?
Many times.
What do you think about it?
It's good. There's a couple of questions I have to the people because I've been trying all different stuff and it's not always working.
Well, we just started, so that's just the beginning,
but it's believe me, compared to what it was a week ago, there's already improvements happening.
That's great. That's it. We keep building. Thanks so much, Alex, for coming to BlueCon. Appreciate it, mate. Mate, come on.
How you doing?
Oh, good. All right. So we've got this Mister here. For those who are online, who are going to be watching this later, obviously you know it's your boy Sammy, and it's on BlueCon 0x0F. I was going to bring my Nigerian accent in there for a bit there. So, but yeah, tell us your name and what was your highlight for BlueCon today?
My name's Gora. My highlight was, I mean, he did a demo with us, you know?
I know.
He gave us almost everything we needed, and then you needed to go search it. You know, all of us were trying to speculate what to do. It was so fun.
Hands-on, right? That's the only way to learn. Like, practical hands-on training.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Look, a question for you. This is the cheeky question I've been asking everyone today. Silink just launched their platform. Have you visited Silink.com yet?
I haven't yet. I need to.
Oh, God. We're gonna have to boo you. That's all right. We're going to give you grace. In here, we have grace at BlueCon. So look it up, Silink.com, and then learn how to learn the cybersecurity. We've got training, practical hands-on training all over the place, and we're just getting started. Thanks so much for coming, man, and hopefully you bring someone to BlueCon next time.
Oh, of course.
That's so good, man. Thank you.
Peace.
Let's have a chat. You wanna say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone.
All right, we have Mr. Precious here. So, I have said your name.
Yeah.
I have said your name, so tell us your name again, just for the sake of those who don't know your name.
My name is
and tell us your highlight of BlueCon 0x0F.
Okay, my name is Precious Ishiguzo.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been to BlueCon several times, but this is actually one of the trending sessions for today because the session was practical. You could see live demonstrations of how to execute some vulnerabilities and how to actually identify threats and how to mitigate against them. So what Silink is offering is value for your training. You get hands-on experience, you know how to deliver on what's expected of you, and also to provide that technical knowledge that is critical in the cybersecurity industry. Yeah. So if you've not visited Silink, please do, because you're missing a lot, all right? That's awesome. And please, big thanks to Sammy. He's reaching out to millions and helping to democratize cybersecurity training globally. So do not delay so that you don't get overtaken by others who are more serious, all right?
That's it. Get an edge, right? For with Silink and Silink.com. Sama, I'm going to have you here. No, come on, Sama. You're definitely coming in here. So, Sama, it's your very first BlueCon.
Yes, it is.
And I'm not sure if you're a cybersecurity person or not.
I'm not, but I'm still interested.
Well, it's actually really exciting because now you're not as tech nerdy as I am. No. So, which means you probably would have had a different perspective. So, just for the sake of those who weren't listening online, what is your name?
Summer. My name is Summer.
So Summer, tell us, what was your highlight of BlueCon today?
I really like the speakers. Everyone's really interesting, very engaging. There's a great audience and it really facilitates questions and I think it's very involved, which I really like about
That's good.
Yeah, it's not just someone speaking at you, you're involved in it.
That's it. That's how we do it at BlueCon. So did you whip out your laptop and get your hands on?
My boyfriend whipped out his laptop and I was looking at it. Yeah. I wasn't as involved as I could have been, but
that's all right.
I paid attention.
As long as you come to next BlueCon, right? It's going to be pretty awesome and late.
100%.
Who knows? You might actually change careers.
Maybe I will.
And if you do change careers, visit silink.com to learn how to train. All right, you're the boyfriend. You have to come say hi to everyone international as well. All right, awesome. All right, we have my man here. So tell us your name and your highlight of BlueCon 0x0f.
My name's Jack. My highlight was definitely getting down and dirty with the systems. Actually getting a bit of hands-on experience. Great time.
That's good. Have you visited silink.com yet?
I have. Dude,
joined the Discord.
You're my man.
Come on,
man.
Silink. That's good. Thanks so much for coming, man. And let's hopefully see you next time. Sarah, you're not escaping this. Come on here. Come say hi to everyone. All right. So tell everyone your name and your highlight of BlueCon 0x0f today.
My name's Sarah, and the highlight was learning KQL.
Yeah,
even though
awesome.
I know a little bit of it, but yeah, it was good.
Threat hunting live here at BlueCon, right?
That's right. No, it was
for
great.
free as well. How
For
cool
free,
is that? You would have had to pay like $1,000+ for that session.
I know, right? That was like
It's so good. Well, you have already visited silink.com, so you're one of our mentors on the platform. So from the rest of everyone, the team at Silink, we wanted to say thank you for giving back to the community. We're just getting started, and hopefully you're there all through the ride as well. Yeah. With that, look, you have any parting words for those who are going to be watching this later?
Hope you enjoyed it. I liked it. It was really good. Yeah, really informative.
Awesome. All right.
Great.
Well, you heard it from her. She's one of the best. So she said, hopefully you enjoyed it, and I know you definitely enjoyed it. If you haven't enjoyed it, you better enjoy it, because I might actually come after you. Just joking. Thanks so much, Sarah, for that. So for those who are watching online, thank you very much for joining us today for BlueCon 0x0f. If you don't understand what that means, it actually means the number 16. So yeah, like I said before, my name is Sammy Chucks, and I'm the CEO and founder of Silink, and also the co-founder of BlueCon. And we hope you stay tuned. We have some really awesome things coming for you, free training. And if you haven't already visited, visit silink.com so you can start learning how to break into cybersecurity today. We actually have a free course giveaway for the first 30 days or 90 days, so you have some time to go and start learning for free. With that, thank you very much for your time. Cheers, everyone. Bye.